Kalimera, kalispera, kalinikta, no matter where in this wild and wacky, wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It is Wednesday Women here, and we are ready to rock and roll with some Arsenal women chat with one of the best. Here we go. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Everyone, thanks again for joining us here at Squad Central. Most of you will be listening on replay. Big game tonight between our Arsenal women and Bayern Munich. We'll keep you posted. And we've got a great guest here to get us all excited about the Arsenal women's season as it comes to a crescendo. First, my guest co-host as usual for the Arsenal Women's Show, Mr. Demian Arriaga. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I could not be better. I'm so pumped. I'm trying to contain myself. And I'm actually glad I can't see either one of you right now on my feed, because I would be crying and kissing the screen right now.
We can see you. You're rocking the orange there, and everything looks as cool as usual in the background. Welcome our special guest. I've been wanting to get this phenomenal broadcaster on the show, and she is here. You've probably seen her wax lyrical about our Arsenal on Sky Sports, Talksport. You can see her on DAZN as well. Shebahn Aherne, welcome to Squad Central. We're christening you today.
Thank you. Oh, I feel very blessed. And you guys might be the nicest people that I've ever joined on a podcast. You really are. You're such sweet, complimentary, lovely people, and doing a fine job as well. So I'm very pleased to be with you tonight.
Well, we are trying to do our best and put our best foot forward. Our listeners are very kind folks. And our Chief Like Officer here, Tammy Steels, is always in the house to keep her eye on everyone. Welcome to you usual suspects in the chat. Let's get stuck in. We are going to be on air for about half hour this evening, so we can get everyone out to watch the rest of the game. Shebahn, I'm going to start off. Even when he's not here, he's here. So I'm going to play a video for you from Super Kevin Campbell. He's got a couple questions for you, and then we'll roll from that. Here we go, people.
I'm nervous. Okay.
Hi, Sophie. Hi, Shebahn. Hi, Squaddies. I hope you're well. Shebahn, I have two-part question for you. One is, who was the biggest influence on your career? Obviously, getting into the media side, very important. And if Arsenal win tonight, get through, what would that mean to women's football in England? Big game. Maybe got a little bit the wrong rub of the green away in Germany. But to beat Bayern Munich and for them to go through, what's your thoughts on what that would mean to WSL? WPL. Anyway, look after yourself. Lots of love. Take good care. Super Kev is out. Have a great show. At ease, Squaddies.
Sure, at the end there, he corrected himself and he didn't really have to. Shebahn, take it away, because our listeners don't really know you, and maybe you could just give that to us in a wee soundbite.
Right. Who influenced me? You're going all the way back to Glasgow. When I was a wee girl, there was a woman on the radio who still is on the radio called Susie Maguire. And I used to just listen to her in the car when I was come back from school. She was always on. And then I started working at the radio station that she was at, and on like work experience. And I was a proper stalker. I weren't leaving that place when my week was up. And that was it. I was in there. They let me start to push the buttons on the radio desk, and then I started working doing Susie Maguire's travel, and worked my way on air from there. And that's how my kind of radio journey started. And I love radio. It's a wonderful medium where you can just any conversation can go anywhere. Any listener can change the whole show. And you speak to wonderful people, and I've worked with amazing people. I mean, alongside Susie, so many people along the way who helped me on my journey and who influenced me. And I would say in terms of sports, Gabby Logan is the absolute OG. and I could watch it all day. I could listen to it all day. I went on holiday there at New Year, and my mum brought me her book, and I just love her. And recently, I got to sit in a room for a YouTube event, and she was literally like a meter from me hosting this thing, and I was like, I can't say whether to up and try and hug you and be weird, but I held it together. And I would say Gabby in terms of sports is absolutely outstanding. There's so many now that we can look up to, a women in sports, and I feel lucky to just be here talking about women's football, because this is all I've known. Women's football is all I've known. You know, I went to watch Paisley Saints under 9s in Glasgow because my sister played there, and we were, whether you liked it or not, you were dragged out to those games. So I've been into women's football before I've been even watching a Premier League game, and actually watching the way it's going now, I wouldn't have changed it. I think the journey's incredible. They're still on this wave, and it's lovely to see the way it's going. I really, really, really enjoy it.
That's amazing. And I love this story. I love the purity of it as well. And this is why I enjoy listening to you. This isn't just something you've picked up, you know. I mean, I've loved the women's game. I've loved watching it. I properly got stuck into covering it when I moved here in not moved here, but in 2011 with the US women's national team. And even then, they were winning World Cups and Olympic golds. Yeah. And there were probably like 4 of us standing on the touchline waiting to talk to Megan Rapinoe. And right now, you can't even get into a room, you know, with Megan Rapinoe. Yeah. So the fact that you've been there, you know, from the very, very beginning and seen that transition, it's insane, isn't it?
I have this, the weather tonight, by the way, here is miserable. It's proper pouring outside, pitch black. It's just not pretty. And I have this memory of being at Boreham Wood 11 years ago, and there must have been about 8 people there. And watching the likes of Kim Little, you know, then my sister was in the academy. And I just look and go, now I go to Boreham Wood on a Sunday and it's packed, you know, and I still love that we saw it then, you know, you really saw it then. And and now Boreham Wood's got a fancy new entrance, and you think, I saw the original, you know, Boreham Wood. So yeah, it's amazing. I love the way the game's going, and I love that I've seen it at its proper grassroots level. You know, mucky pitches, and the girls all hopping off a minibus with their little plastic carrier bags. You know, that was when it was really just everyone still playing for the love of it. You know, they weren't playing for money or careers because they didn't have that option then. You know, now women in football have that option, so it's incredible.
Amazing. And you get crazy people like Demian now who just fly to London for 2 days to go to the cup final. And, that's, you know, brilliant. At the risk of win, lose or draw. Right, Demian?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if I can interject, please. Shebahn, I admire you so much. Your eloquence, your sense of humor. You're one of the best interviewers in the game. And
thank you. That's really kind.
Thank you. Well, I am so thankful for people like you, because it's easy to focus on Kim Little, Vivianne Miedema, and so on and so forth that have helped grow the game. But I think, and I'm not saying this is in your case, but a lot of people that work in broadcasting, pundits, analysts, and so on and so journalists, they might forget that they're a massive part of this. Like, one of the reasons I love women's football is because of you and watching your videos and having that access and seeing how, you know, the personality of the players. Shebahn. You know what I mean? Sorry, I've been getting Shebahn's checks for the past few months, and I'm trying to memorize everything she's asking me to say. But seriously, I think it's very important for you to know. I think it's very important for the squaddies to know that you are among the best to ever do it. And you are part of the revolution that we've seen in the past, 3-4 years that the game has grown exponentially. And if it weren't for people like you, Susie Rack, Faye Carruthers, obviously Sophie Nicolaou, one of the pioneers of the game here in America, people like me it would be like ancient times where we could not find a single interview or a single article. And all of you have not only the respect of a lot of people, but you have the credibility. And we all know how hard it is to be a woman in general. I mean, take it for what it's worth. But
You are a male feminist. So.
I for sure, but I know how hard this business can be. And the fact that you're doing it for the love of the game, since you were basically a child going to these games with 8 people, that is unbelievable. And the sacrifice you've done, the investment of time, energy, it never, ever goes unappreciated. And you're part of the reason why the game is growing. So...
And I'm going to second that in the sense that we've got listeners in. We've got Gigi and Archangel and a whole bunch of listeners in Australia as well that are hoping that you're going to be going over there for the Women's World Cup and covering it because they're huge fans of yours too. But I think it's important that, you know, on our show, we started off just covering the men's team. And, you know, we then, you know, of course, you know, get stuck into covering the women's team. But you really are, with those other women that Demian talked about, pioneers for us in terms of how we then felt brave enough as well to like say, okay, you know what? People do want to listen to this and people have an appetite for it. And you see it now when Arsenal was selling 20,000 tickets for a Champions League game or 40,000 plus for a North London derby.
Absolutely. Guys, honestly, you're very, very, very kind and lovely in what you're saying there. And I enjoy doing it because I love it and I have access to these unbelievable players. And honestly, Demian, I think, would have a heart attack if you could see some of the players that we could, you know, I'm lucky to be around the bunch of people who want to help you because they know that you want to push women's football. And that's just, and that's lovely. And I love it. You know, tonight I'm going to sit down and watch the second half of the game with my sister. And we're going to vlog it, you know, just because we enjoy that. So many people enjoy it and enjoy talking about women's football. But like you say, there's an appetite now, you know, people want to talk about women's football. People seem to want to talk to me about women's football, which I absolutely love. You know, men mostly now will be like, oh, what about Arsenal the other day, you know, and, you know, winning the Conti Cup against Chelsea, as if like, that's it, you know, we've nailed it. And I just love that we're having these conversations now. So it's great. I'm really happy. And thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is our one of our OGs, Greek commander, aka Theo, who's at the game at the Emirates, cheering on the women right now. Breaking play for injury, so he's just checked in on the show to say hello. And a couple of them in chat already complaining about the referee. So it looks like we've got much. Oh no, really? No, please don't let this be true. Come on. Okay, what are your expectations for tonight, Shebahn? And we'll...
Okay. Answering Kevin's second question.
Okay,
I mean,
she's walking off. She's not on a stretcher. There you go. She's walking off. She's not on a stretcher. We're good. Okay,
just shows you how rumors start. Yes. Tonight I was too nervous to go because I don't think I have the nerve endings for being present at what can be even the best Arsenal side or the worst Arsenal side that seem to kind of frequent a week in, a week out. Like, you know, it's changing all the time. There's a bit of inconsistency at the minute. If tonight they can get a win, I do think this could be the highlight of their season because the league is tight at the minute. You know, City are running teams ragged. Chelsea have dropped points, but they still have that crucial game in hand. Manchester United are top of the league. I look and go, okay, Arsenal have dropped points and we have to give them the injury grace of Vivianne, Miedema and Beth, Mead. We have to do that. But they've won the Conti Cup. You guys all know that the Conti Cup isn't the Holy Grail. If they can progress in the Champions League, I'll look and think, okay, this could be the highlight of their season if they can get a win tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like without those two, and you lose any major players from any team, to lose these two at the same time is heartbreaking, not only for the squad. Personally, it's heartbreaking for them with it being a World Cup year as well. But the fact that they went on to win a trophy without them and having kind of overcome those humps, Shebahn, like not being clinical in the finishing, maybe a little poor in the final third, maybe having lost a little confidence when they lost Mead and Miedema early. But to go on and win a trophy, that's a huge achievement without those two, no?
Incredible achievement, and they absolutely got the better of Chelsea that day. And that's what I'm thinking. If we can bring that game, that performance tonight, you know, to Bayern Munich, I think that they have absolutely every chance of going through. I have no doubt about it. But also, I wonder if they're pumped for it every single time. You know, it's like different nights, different occasions. perhaps there'll be a nerves element involved in this one as well. Sorry, I think my screen's shaking a little bit. I don't know if that's just me. But I'm just not sure. It's for me, it is the final third. Everyone has a huge problem with it at the moment, and Stina Blackstenius has found a bit of form, and I'm really happy about that. Obviously, she'll be happy about that. But ahead of the Conti Cup final, I know through speaking to a lot of the players that they were really down and they needed that win more than anything. So all of them went into that game with this pumped up attitude, right? We're going to do this. We're going to play our absolute best. And they got the better of Chelsea. Weeks before, they'd been knocked out of the FA Cup by Chelsea in what was a totally different performance. So I don't know what I'm going to expect from them. That's what bothers me. I don't know what I'm expecting from Arsenal week in, week out. Last week, they were the better team against Bayern Munich, but again, they weren't clinical. So if you ain't going to get goals, you're not going to win the game, and that is the stress that we've got right now with Arsenal.
Do you think that it's down to, it's not negative, I think it's realistic. I ran into a little bit of that pickle when talking similarly about maybe Mikel Arteta, in the sense that Kev always said it's the players. And I said, well, at some point the manager also has to be culpable or accountable for results, performance, mood. When you talk about the players being down a little bit, is that due to just knowing that they've let themselves down a little bit? Does that, because you spend time with them, you talk to them a lot. What was your sense on that? Is the manager engaged enough to kind of like fix those problems?
I think Jonas Eriksson is clearly a manager who's very set in his ways. I do think he's an incredibly interesting manager, an interesting person. I've interviewed him a few times, and I find him extremely intelligent. That I wonder sometimes, is there a really high IQ and a lower EQ, perhaps, which is an interesting way when you have to manage, a squad of how many women, women or men. But I can honestly put my hands up and say women might be a little bit different, because there's different days where one day can be up, the next day you can be down. That weekend, particularly leading up to the Conti Cup final, it felt like that the squad just rallied. They absolutely rallied. They were all like, we have to go and get this win. I think they were on their knees in terms of where they dropped to in the table. Of course, there was the lack of finishing in front of goal, and also they're down to their best players, So I think they were looking and going, if we can get this win, we can then kickstart our season again. And they have done that. They have been better. The North London derby, they were 10 out of 10. But, I mean, come on, everyone's taking points off of Spurs this season. So I'm not also looking at last week and going, I'm not looking at the weekend and thinking, oh, this is preparation for Wednesday, because Bayern Munich are different gravy. Jonas Eriksson is a very, very good manager, and he's done very well. Now that they've won a trophy, I think it's signs that they're doing really well. And it feels like it'll be a happier camp now that they've won that trophy for sure.
Yeah. Demian, I know you had a question in terms of the team right now, and like, kind of you've been concerned about certain players not being picked or...
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very much a feelings-based person, not so much stats and analysis, and both of you know the game more than I could ever dream of knowing. But I started sort of doubting a little bit of Jonas. I spoke about it on my podcast a few weeks ago when Katie McCabe was not starting, and I had a really deep-rooted problem with that. And I can't get over it. It's when Joe Montemurro was not playing DVD, it just grinded my gears. It to me is when I start doubting, from my perspective, I'm nobody, the IQ of a manager, right? And I shouldn't, and it sounds really bad, and I don't actually mean it. But seeing Katie play more, to me, is logical. It's what works, and I think it's one of the reasons why we started doing better. But like you, and I don't think you're being negative at all, is I have concerns with the front three as well. I'm not particularly impressed with Victoria Pelova, even though people are just going nuts about her magical performance, I guess, last Sunday against Spurs. But she doesn't fill me with confidence either. So I echo everything that you're saying, and it's good to know that I'm not insane.
I think what you're talking about there to do with Katie McCabe, I'm glad you said it. I think with me having a relation to Katie, it can almost come across maybe sometimes bias or
Sure.
Like I'm naturally going to say that. But I actually watched the Arsenal team with Katie, and I think then they bring in aggression. They bring the little Rottweiler who brings that. She's like the Erin Cuthbert of Chelsea, you know. And I think Arsenal need that team. I do think sometimes they can be too nice, you know, and you cannot be doing that when you need to be getting points here, there, and everywhere. You can't be doing it. And I prefer seeing Katie in the team for obvious reasons, but in my opinion, when Katie has been dropped, it's been mental. I can't explain why it's happened. You know, I don't know why. But listen, the manager's the manager. You know, we've seen it how many times. Oh, something's happened.
Frida Manum just scored.
Frida just scored.
Go on, the girl. Oh my goodness. Come on, Frida. Talk about
we'll keep talking. They'll keep scoring. No, I love that you agree. I love that you're on the same page with that. I mean, yeah, Demian was kind of going. He's a very calm guy, but yeah, there's just certain plays, and sometimes you just question it. You know, someone just said it in chat too, and I asked this question a couple of weeks ago. Do you think there's a similar pattern with the inconsistency, a little bit like Arteta's revolution or evolution? You know, Jonas is trying to evolve the Arsenal women. You know, I don't know if this is Arsenal women 2.0 or 3.0. We had the wonderful Vic Akers on last month, and, you know, the legacy that he built, and then kind of what carried on from after that. And now you've got, you know, another new chapter, a new era. Did you find it a little similar? He wins a cup, right? But really he's going to be measured by the league, especially. We definitely want to keep rolling in Europe. There's some inconsistencies, some hits and misses in the transfer market. Do you feel like there's a little similar pattern?
Similar in a way, but at the beginning, you know, when you think back to the Vic Akers time, Arsenal were the ones, you know, they were the originals in doing what they were doing and setting that example and winning. You know, they won the quadruple, for the love of goodness sake. You know, that it's a very, very different time. Now you look at teams all across the league investing, pumping in money, getting in the right players, getting in the right coaches, investing properly, pushing their clubs, that I actually look and go, I think the game is moving forward at such a speed that you're going to just see other teams starting to catch up now. You know, I think there could be similarities in terms of what you're saying, and I guess we have to wait and see what happens that little bit longer. I just don't see, though, when you look at this league, how Arsenal can close the gap, you know, because I look at who's above them, who are not dropping points, and I feel that they've dropped points in those games that you just shouldn't. That you know, I wonder. But then look at Chelsea last week. You just never know. You just never know.
That was a crazy result and totally surprising. But is the Manchester United evolution purely down to their transfer window? Do you feel like they were on that trajectory, Shebahn? Are you surprised? Are they a little ahead of where they should be?
What are we now? Is that year 4? Year 4 now, I think, of Manchester United. That I look and go, that's the squad they've got. I actually think Mark Skinner, albeit he's, you know, we can all watch his press conferences and smile, you know, because he says he reminds me of like a David Brent type-ish character, and I mean that with full respect. You know, he's a philosophical kind of man. I just look at the job he's done, and I'm like, fair play to you. You know, the likeliness says he's going to lose Alessia Russo, but if he can win the league and get them into Champions League, think of the money that they're going to bring in and the players that they're also going to attract. You know, if Alessia Russo goes to Arsenal, for example, which we all think might but happen, you know, I think it's very, very probable that will happen. But I just think United have been brilliant across the board. You know, and I suppose this transfer window, you look at the players who hadn't been featured in, who have now gone out in this window, for example, Lucy Staniforth, who will be fighting to get that place in the England squad to go to the World Cup. You know, it's such a strong squad, and so many of them are at Manchester United. And I look and go, it's a very, very good squad, but United got them there. You know, they're looking after their players. They've got state-of-the-art kind of facilities going on. You've got a few Euros legends and Lioness heroes in there as well. I just look and go, I think the fact that they've been able to maintain all season and everyone step up every single game is a testament to the club. I just think that they have been brilliant. And okay, some people saying it is a bit ahead of their time, and a few people foresee them dropping points. But the only team they've dropped points to is Chelsea. So I look and go, well, they're catching up. That is the way the game's going. All of these teams catching up. Aston Villa, I know there's a good gap between them and fourth, but Villa are on this incredible run. Beat Manchester City, have taken 4 points from this season and beat them in the cup to make it to the semis. But Chelsea can't beat them. It's always evolving. The league's going one way, and that's what's incredible. It's not just the one-horse race now,
I think it's so much more exciting. I was talking to Paul Ross about this the other night, and he was excited for people. He loves the women's game, and he doesn't watch it as much as you, but he's like so exciting that it is a 4-horse race, and it may seem like it's going to be tougher for us, but like you said, because of those results, those 4 teams are well in it, and I feel like we're seeing that a little bit at international level too. Having seen the US women's team dominate for years, now look what we're seeing on the international landscape. And I did want to get a couple World Cup questions in before we let you go, because I know you want to go off and watch the game. But
please do.
The evolution of, I was talking to Jill Ellis about this, and one of the things that she and Emma Hayes had a bit of a tete-a-tete about was, Emma Hayes felt like the WSL was overtaking the NWSL, and that the game in Europe was growing, and I think there's a lot of truth to the excitement of what the WSL brings in the game in Europe versus here, although it seems like this season here it's cranked up a totally different level. But going into the World Cup, the Lionesses, and of course, our captain, what's your take on who's going to win the World Cup? This special player here, what she means to us, what would that mean for her career? I mean, to lift, trophies with Arsenal, but then to be lifting trophies with your country as well puts her on a totally different plane.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Leah Williamson was given the captaincy, and that season at Arsenal, I'd been at pretty much every game, and I remember thinking she'd had not a great season. Arsenal hadn't won anything that season, and I do think they weren't all that strong. 2-0, stop.
Blackstenius. Stina scored.
Yes, Stina.
Oh, Stina.
I'm not watching, by the way. I'm not watching.
No. This is the perfect. This is why we wanted to do this. This is great because these little things happening. We got Shebahn here, and she literally just mentioned Stina, and Stina scored. So I'm just thinking.
Shebahn knows. By the way, can I say that I've always heard, and this is gonna sound so stupid, I always hear the Ricky Martin Shebang song every time you pop up on my feed.
That's not the first time she's heard that.
I know, but I have all these instruments around me. I have to be that guy and mention it. Sorry, keep going.
Next time I come on, I need you to be able to do that theme tune for me then, and then that can instrument.
That would be epic.
I like it. I like it.
What was Leah? Leah. I remember when she got the captaincy, me thinking, huh? Like, how? I think then at that point, she hadn't played all that much international football for England. Arsenal hadn't had a great season. Chelsea had won the league. Millie Bright had been playing more. And I was like, meh, it should be Millie Bright. Anyway, Leah Williamson has done nothing but put every foot in the right place since she's been given that armband. Every time she's kicked the ball, represented her country, represented Arsenal. I've watched it closely and I have been eating my words. Everything I seem to say doesn't matter because then the play, like I just said, Stina, I'm worried about her in front of goal and now she's made it 2-0, I did wonder if she was the right person. I don't know why. But she's been a pure poster girl, is how I said it. And I remember getting a bit of criticism for saying that about Leah Williamson because I actually said she'd done a model shoot at this point in time for Women's Health or GQ, something like that. And she looked, because she's gorgeous and she looked incredible. And I remember saying, even if you look at her, young girls want to be like her, and then you see her being 10 out of 10 on the football pitch as well. How she speaks. I mean, she can be put in some tricky situations. She just answers everything so well. I think she's a brilliant captain. I think everything that she's been able to do, she's top of the class. I think she's absolutely brilliant. I also look at that whole Lionesses squad, and as an angry British Scotswoman who is half Irish, it's pretty tough to take. However,
there's a lot of anger there.
However, the Lionesses winning the Euros was the best thing that could have happened to football here. The best thing that could have happened to media broadcasters to take it again that more seriously, to want to have the appetite to show more of it and talk more about it. So yeah, see the Lionesses, actually look at them going to the World Cup, and I think you have a very, very, very good chance of winning this. And I was at that game at Wembley against USA, and USA, I think, had a very unfair goal ruled out, and USA were mind blown. But the Lionesses, tactically, Serena Vegan, she's a machine. The woman just doesn't give up. She's great.
She's unbelievable, isn't she? I mean, just insane. Yeah, they were very bitter about that goal. The reason I put that picture up is because when you were talking about the Lionesses and Leah and the plane that she's on, and to see them alongside Saka, they should be. I mean, Demian's got to be in his bonnet about all of this, but they should be. And to see that evolution, you know, Leah's book with Susie Rack, and you know, these, and then Beth doing what she's been doing on her, and then the front covers and all of this stuff. They won something the men couldn't and haven't done. And they are taking and evolving the game, Shebahn, to a totally different level.
They are. And do you know what I love as well? Some people have a problem with this. You know, the fact that they represent so many causes. You know, it's like, why can't it just be the football? And I'm like, why can't they make one person, 10 people feel better about a cause that might be personal to them? I love that. And Beth Mead, who tragically lost her mum not long ago, you know, they wore the ovarian cancer pins on their training jackets recently ahead of a game. I just thought, that's so important. It's such an important cause. You know, why can't they shout loudly and proudly and get behind any campaign that they want to get behind? You know, because they do their talking on the pitch as well. Their focus isn't on the badge that they're wearing that day. Their focus is on performing and also just doing the right thing, you know, positively impact and change in society. And they're doing it every single time. Honestly, I just think that squad, Millie Bright as well, I mentioned earlier, like, I spoke to her recently in an interview, and I remember thinking, wow, like this woman is proper powerhouse. Like the way she thinks, the way she's training her brain, the way she's not settled. She wants more. She wants to learn more. She's figuring out what's next after football. I just found her like a really positive, passionate person to speak to, all the P's. So yeah, the Lionesses going to the World Cup are brilliant, but listen, just saying for a friend, now Katie McCabe and Rusha Littlejohn, Rusha's my sister, so half Irish. Come on, Ireland, the World Cup. I cannot say that at this point in time.
I think Demian, we know who Demian's rooting for. He's got his orange Crush shirt on there. I mean, whatever.
Okay.
Go on, jump in, Demian, on the social thing, because for us, we always have this conversation: is why is it so much easier for women in the women's game to talk about this stuff than it is the men's? Go on, Demian, and then we've got one more for Shebahn, and we'll let her go.
I think by definition, almost, women, footballers, journalists, and so on and so forth, you're disruptors. You've already have made history. Just the fact that you do what you do in a sport that was barely covered, that has all this, you know, almost toxic masculinity, misogyny intrinsically linked through the years. You're already doing the impossible, right? Making money out of this is already the impossible. Having a career, you know, going through bullying and so on and so forth, every stereotype you can imagine, you're already built differently. And you are all so much more empathetic than a lot of us, and your emotional intelligence is usually through the roof. So to be active with that empathy, it's only a normal part of the arc of your lives, I would assume. And for example, for me as a musician, it irks me that a lot of the people that I have played with that have a platform that could do much more, they are not doing it. And the reality is a lot of them are doing it behind the scenes, but I would like them to be more open or talk about politics and so on and so forth. And their stakes are higher for them for some reason. They believe that the stakes are higher. And I couldn't agree less with that, because to have the ability to influence so many young people and empower so many young women and men in the LGBTQ community is such a commonsensical thing for me that instead of fixating on why men don't do it more, I just have to continue championing the women and express my my respect and my love, and you know, that is among the reasons why I do what I do and try to help as much as I can. Not because I only think it's what's needed, but it's what I want to be like. Shebahn, I want to be like you, Sophie. I want to be like Vivianne and Miedema. I love Beth as a dear friend.
Yeah,
thank you.
Like you. I want to play percussion for Miley Cyrus. I want to be like you.
But I say this to Beth whenever I get a chance to tell her, and I love her as a friend, and I know what she's gone through, and I admire them so much. I admire all of you, not only because of how good you are on the sport or behind a mic, but because you have this ability to naturally and wholeheartedly communicate what matters, and that spread the love and spread all these things that are socially important and relevant. And that to me means more than any trophy or any, you know, recognition out on the street. Like that means nothing to me compared to that whole thing, you know.
Well, I like to win too. Go on, Shebahn.
That is
I think I like what you say, and it's so true, because it's so easy for the women to. It's not easy. They have to think it through, but it's not hard for them to go, this is how I feel, and I'm going to express it, you know. And I think that's brilliant to see. Not everyone might be that way, but I actually think when you look at women in football, a lot of them are leading by example. They're speaking about their feelings. They're speaking about what's important. They're speaking about what matters. They're trying to make positive change. And it's better than any trophy. I agree with that as well. Don't get me wrong. I love winning. But like my sister, for example, who she plays at Aston Villa, has the most injury-ridden season in a couple of years of a long, long time. But she talks. She speaks to people. She stands up for what she believes in. Apparently, I've heard from a lot of the Villa players that she's the best person to be around. You know, even when they are fighting fit and banging in goals for fun, Rush is the one that can lift them up. And I do look and go, it's important that they have that talking mentality, that morale, that ethos, and build each other up. You know, it's like a community. Everyone builds each other up. And you can hear nothing really but positive stories, you know, and that is the truth. That is the truth. And I think that's so important. And I love that about women's football. I love that I get to debate with Simon Jordan. Everyone's allowed their own Simon Jordan opinion. And, and he's on Talksport. Do you know, but I actually, Simon's I'll maybe say this to him soon, it's to his face, but I feel it's his brand. You know, like he has a certain group that agree with everything that he says. So the day that he starts to say, I watched the Conti Cup final at Selhurst Park the other day, and actually genuinely comments on the football instead of they shouldn't be earning the same as men, or they shouldn't be getting the same, you know, fund as men. I look and go, that, you know, we're here talking about it. We are broadcasting to say 3 million listeners at that point in time. If that's actually changing, if my opinion's changing the mentality of 15 people, I know I've done my job that day, you know. And Simon can shout about what he wants. You know, we agree to disagree on all of these subjects, but actually it's fine. You know, it's fine. He has his thoughts and I have my passion and my thoughts. And he always says after our debates, you've got so much passion, you know, so I can't take that away from you, you know. And I look and go, if you've got passion for something, you can shout about it as loud as you want and you can be accepted. And if people don't agree with you, don't let it bother you. You know, don't let it change what you're doing. What people think of you is none of your business, you know, so crack on.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I love that. And sometimes the best comes out of conversations with people you completely disagree with, you know, and it's so important to keep having those debates and those conversations. Right, we're going to let everyone go out and enjoy the second half here. Shebahn, do you promise to come back at the end of the season? Because we haven't even scratched the surface on our football conversation here. You know,
we can lock in, I think, dates moving forward, because already I love you guys. I don't even feel like we're broadcasting at the minute. We're just sitting shooting the shit.
Yeah, shooting the shit, having a little bit of a tipple at the
nice
pub
chat.
and just like, nice chat. And that's how.
And Arsenal
really
are 2-0 up.
2-0 up, and I'm glad that you said that. Everyone gets to make a closing statement before they leave.
Oh, gosh.
What do you want the squaddies to know about our Arsenal women? How do you see the season ending?
Arsenal can get to Champions League football. They will finish top 3 in the league, and they will progress to the semi-finals, and they will beat Wolfsburg. If they get well. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking at the end of this. I think they can go to a final. I do. I just think they might have the rub of the green in the Champions League. It might happen for them. This could be the highlight of their season.
We love it. I'm happy with that, Demian. How about you?
I love it. I love it. I predicted that we would beat Bayern Munich, and I actually do have Wolfsburg as my Champions League winners this year.
Okay. And last week you said to me on the show, you said, well, what if Chelsea lose this weekend? I said, don't be silly. I love how football makes fools of all of us, especially me, over the last 18 months. There's no doubt about that.
Especially me. Especially me. We've talked about that before.
All right. Shebahn, let everyone know where they can find you, other than I had your handle up here, but where can they see you, find you, look at your stuff? Will you do stuff for 90 minutes as well? Let everyone know.
Yeah, at 90 Min on YouTube. I am back on a Monday on the gas tank. And then, of course, at my YouTube as well would be lovely to get a wee subscribe. That'd be nice, at Shebahn. There's only one, but the spelling's weird, Shebahn. And, of course, Talksport, Sky Sports this weekend, actually, this Sunday. I'm building up to the WSL game. So feel free to, I don't know, hammer me for my opinion or agree with me on my opinion. That'd be lovely.
Oh, amazing. I've also just heard that YouTube has completely taken a crash. So some live streams might not be streaming. We still seem to be. Yes. Anyway, Shebahn's going to be back at the end of the season. We're going to have another chat and it's going to be epic.
Definitely.
In the meantime, let's go Gunners. Good luck to the lads as well this weekend. Of course, the show will be back to talk about Leeds. And until then, be careful. Enjoy yourself. Demian, love you. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks,
I love
Demian.
both
Thank
of you. Love both of you. And you're my idols and my heroes. And I cannot wait to talk again.
I love it.
I'll send you that tenner, okay?
Thanks to all the squaddies who've tuned in as well. For those who lost connection, don't worry. We'll make sure that you get to listen to the end on replay. Okay, everyone, take care. We'll see you tomorrow night. Until then, thank you, Shebahn. You're a legend.
Thanks,
At
Sophie.
ease,
Thanks,
everyone.
Bye.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.